On a seemingly ordinary Saturday, an email landed in the inboxes of federal employees across the nation. It was unexpected, catching many off guard as they were winding down for the weekend. The message, simple yet jarring, carried a request that sent ripples of anxiety through the workforce. It was not the content but the timing and tone that unsettled everyone. Employees were asked to summarize their accomplishments from the previous week in 5 concise bullet points. This task, while straightforward, felt unusually urgent. The email, unsigned and lacking the usual formality, emanated from the Office of Personnel Management's new HR email address. This new address added to the mystery. The deadline for submission was set for Monday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, leaving employees with a weekend overshadowed by uncertainty and apprehension. This seemingly innocuous request for a work summary took on an ominous tone. The lack of context made it feel like a test or a trap. The short deadline added to the growing sense of unease among federal employees. Many found themselves working late into the night, trying to perfect their summaries. The lack of clarity surrounding the email's intent fueled speculation and fear. Conversations buzzed with theories and concerns. Many wondered about the purpose and potential implications of this unusual directive. Was it a prelude to layoffs or a new performance review method? The email itself did not explicitly state the consequences of failing to comply. This ambiguity only heightened the tension. This silence, however, did little to quell the rising tide of anxiety. The unknown loomed large in everyone's minds. The vague language and unusual format of the email only amplified the sense of uncertainty and fear that began to grip the federal workforce. The weekend, typically a time for respite and rejuvenation, was instead consumed by a collective sense of apprehension and worry. The usual weekend calm was replaced by a pervasive sense of dread. Subscribe, like, and share Cosmo Academia. The unease sparked by the OPM email was further fueled by a social media post from Elon Musk. Musk, the controversial tech mogul now leading the Department of Government Efficiency, injected a chilling ultimatum into the situation. In a post on X, Musk declared that any federal employee who failed to respond to the email would be considered to have resigned. This bold statement sent shockwaves through the federal workforce. Musk's declaration was immediately met with a firestorm of reactions. Social media platforms were ablaze with heated debates and polarized opinions. Some viewed it as a brazen attempt to intimidate and coerce federal employees, questioning the legality and ethics of such a move. Others saw it as a reckless overreach of authority, fearing the precedent it might set for future government actions. The ambiguity of the original email, coupled with Musk's ominous warning, created a perfect storm of confusion and fear within the federal workforce. Employees were left scrambling for clarity and reassurance. Adding fuel to the fire was a subsequent post by President Donald Trump, a vocal supporter of Musk's aggressive approach to government reform. Trump's endorsement amplified the controversy, making it a national talking point. Trump lauded Musk's statement, urging him to be even more aggressive in his pursuit of a leaner and more efficient federal government. This endorsement emboldened Musk's supporters and further polarized the debate. As the weekend progressed, a sense of confusion and uncertainty gripped federal agencies across the nation. The lack of clarity surrounding the OPM email and Musk's subsequent ultimatum left agencies scrambling for guidance. Some agencies, wary of the potential legal ramifications, adopted a cautious approach, advising their employees to exercise prudence. The uncertainty was palpable, with many employees unsure of how to proceed. FBI Director Kash Patel, known for his cautious approach, urged his agents to pause any response to the email, pending further instructions. This call for restraint reflected the growing concern within the intelligence community about the legality and intent behind the directive. Patel's directive was seen as a protective measure, ensuring that no hasty decisions would be made. The National Security Agency, echoing the FBI's cautious stance, advised its employees to await guidance from the Department of Defense. The agency, known for its highly classified work and strict protocols, was hesitant to act without a clear understanding of the situation. This hesitation underscored the gravity of the email's implications. The U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, cognizant of the potential legal challenges, advised employees to be general in their responses if they felt compelled to reply. This measured approach aimed to balance the need for compliance with the importance of protecting employees' rights. The overarching message was clear: proceed with caution and prioritize legal safeguards. The legality of the OPM's directive and Musk's subsequent threat quickly became a subject of intense debate among legal experts. Michael Fallings, a prominent labor law attorney, argued that Musk's statement lacked legal authority and that the request for weekly accomplishments was unreasonable and outside the bounds of established labor practices.
Federal employees have specific rights and protections under the law. The OPM's directive, coupled with Musk's threat, constitutes a blatant attempt to circumvent these protections and create a climate of fear and intimidation within the federal workforce.
The lack of clarity regarding the email's purpose and the absence of any due process raised serious legal concerns. Legal experts questioned the validity of demanding a detailed account of weekly accomplishments without providing clear guidelines or justification. The OPM email and Musk's ultimatum triggered a swift and forceful response from federal employee unions. This directive is disrespectful, counterproductive, and frankly, un-American. Everett Kelly, president of the American Federation of Government Employees, AFGE, the largest federal employee union, denounced the directive. Not only is this legally dubious, but it's also deeply demoralizing to our federal employees. The vast majority of them are dedicated public servants who work tirelessly to serve the American people. We will fight any attempts to intimidate or unjustly terminate federal workers. Doreen Greenwald, national president of the National Treasury Employees Union, NTEU, echoed Kelly's sentiments.
This directive is an affront to federal employees and a blatant attempt to undermine their rights. We will challenge any unlawful terminations and protect the interests of NTEU members.
The unions are ready to protect their members and uphold their rights. The OPM's email and Musk's subsequent threat sent a shockwave through the federal workforce, leaving many feeling insulted, anxious, and deeply uncertain about their future.
The directive, perceived by many as a thinly veiled attempt to justify mass layoffs, created a pervasive sense of fear and insecurity.
The short deadline, the lack of clarity, and the threat of termination weighed heavily on the minds of federal employees.
Many felt pressured to comply, fearing that their silence would be misconstrued as insubordination or lack of commitment.
The weekend, typically a time for rest and rejuvenation, was instead consumed by frantic emails, hurried phone calls, and a frantic search for answers.
Social media platforms, usually abuzz with weekend plans and personal updates, were flooded with messages of anxiety, confusion, and outrage from federal employees across the country.
Subscribe, like, and share Cosmo Academia. The OPM's directive, seen by many as arbitrary and capricious, is not an isolated incident.
It is, in fact, part of a broader, more calculated strategy orchestrated by the Trump administration, with Elon Musk at the helm of the Department of Government Efficiency, to fundamentally reshape the federal workforce.
This strategy, often articulated by Trump during his presidency as a mission to drain the swamp, seeks to reduce the size of the federal government, replace career civil servants with political appointees, and dismantle civil service protections that have been in place for decades.
The goal, as articulated by Trump and his supporters, is to create a more responsive and efficient government, one that is less beholden to career bureaucrats and more aligned with the political priorities of the administration in power.
Critics, however, argue that this approach undermines the apolitical nature of the civil service and opens the door to cronyism and political patronage.
In the wake of the controversy surrounding the OPM's directive and Musk's ultimatum, President Donald Trump, speaking at the Conservative Political Action Conference, doubled down on his support for Musk's aggressive approach to government reform. Trump, a vocal critic of the federal bureaucracy, praised Musk as a patriot and a true innovator. He lauded Musk's efforts to drain the swamp and create a more efficient and accountable government. The OPM, in a carefully worded statement released to the media, defended the directive, stating that it was part of a broader effort to ensure an efficient and accountable federal workforce. The statement emphasized that agencies would determine the next steps based on the responses received. The OPM's directive and Musk's subsequent threat did not emerge in a vacuum. They are, in fact, the latest in a series of controversial moves by the Trump administration aimed at reshaping the federal workforce. The administration has been criticized for its efforts to terminate thousands of probationary employees, its use of questionable deferred resignation offers, and its push for a mandatory return to the office for federal employees. These actions, coupled with the OPM's recent directive, have created a climate of fear and uncertainty within the federal workforce. Many fear that these moves are part of a larger effort to dismantle the civil service and replace it with a more politicized workforce.
If you found this video insightful, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share Cosmo Academia for more in-depth analysis.